The UFC has a double champ problem. Now, this might not seem like an issue. It might probably seem like the best thing for the UFC, but unfortunately, it's not. And I'm going to go into the reasons why it isn't. Now, to add a little bit of context, having double champs in the organization is not a bad thing at all, especially because it benefits the UFC more because they're more marketable. A lot more matchups open up because now there's two divisions for that person to run. Just the whole scope of it just makes it more interesting. And definitely a lot more pay-per-view sales. And, that's what Dana White be looking out for. But then it becomes an issue when every champion constantly is asking to move up. Half the time, they don't even defend the belt. They're just thinking about moving up. An example would be Topuria. Topuria wins the featherweight belt against Volkanovski and already is making plans about moving up and fighting Islam, becoming double champ. And then Islam was offered Leon Edwards, so he was about to get his wish granted, become a double champ. And he's expressed too that he wants to defend, I think, once or twice more, or even three times. But the basis is that he wants to move up to fight at welterweight to get two belts. O'Malley was also talking about his dream matchup being against Topuria at featherweight in Spain. And even Alex Pereira, who had just moved up to light heavyweight, got the belt. And then is talking about, well, not talking, but there's rumors that he might be moving up to heavyweight. People are saying him versus Aspinall would be a crazy matchup. And I do agree, it would be crazy. But it's just too much going on. I feel like the only champions right now that are actually defending their belt and defending the division are Pantoja, Drakus, and Leon Edwards. I love double champs as much as the next person. Creates interesting matchups. It just makes the sport more fun. But then it creates inactive divisions. And an example we just seen, which it's a little bit of a bad example, which is Volkanovski. When he was at featherweight, he moved up to fight Islam twice. And all respect to Volkanovski, because he tried his hardest to still defend at featherweight, in which he did. But with his absence, there was an interim champ in Yair Rodriguez. And if he were not to move up, there would have been no interim champ, and he probably would have fought Ilya a lot sooner. The division would have been ramped up a lot sooner too. And the same could be applied for all of them. Say O'Malley goes on to fight Ilya in Spain. Now the bantamweight division is stagnant, especially knowing that Merab has just destroyed the entire division and is just so close to get that title shot. And that's going to get stripped away from him because O'Malley wants to move up. And then again, that'll create another interim champ. I feel like a lot of people don't like the idea of an interim champion, especially when there isn't no need for one. For instance, in this case, there is no need to make more interim champs. That's what these divisions are going to create if the champ wants to go move up and try his hand at a second title. But in all honesty, I wouldn't be mad if Pereira beat Jamal Hill and then moved up again to heavyweight to try to get that title. The reasoning is because the light heavyweight for the longest has kind of been a stuck in the mud division. There's not a whole lot of hype around it. It just recently started getting good because of guys like Prohaska, Pereira, even Jamal Hill, Teixeira even. But I just feel like it's stuck in the mud, the top five. So I wouldn't be mad if Alex Pereira moves up to heavyweight, which is also another stuck in the mud division. I don't know what they're trying to do. They're trying to do the double retirement matchup with Stipe and John Jones. Just let someone come. And then there's Aspinall too. So I think that would be the only case where a champion moving up would benefit the UFC a lot more. Because Pereira would just make things a whole lot interesting. Even if he were to fight Aspinall for the interim belt, or even fight John Jones if they disrespect Aspinall like that. But that would shake things up and make things more interesting. Now, I want to get into what I think the UFC should do to combat this situation, this double champ situation that we got going on. And the first being I think there should be a mandatory, strictly mandatory. Have to phrase this to put emphasis on this, of at least 2 to 3 title defenses before that champion can move up and try to get a double champ status. Because like I mentioned with Ilya, just wants to move up with 0 title defenses. O'Malley wants to move up with only 1 title defense. This in this case, if the champion has 2 to 3 title defenses, leaning more towards 3, even a little more, is because they'll run through the top contenders in their division, and then it gets a little more interesting, as opposed to just winning the belt or just having 1 title shot and moving up, because there's so many matchups. When there is a new champion, everybody wonders, can they run through their division, especially the top 5. So I feel like that's one way to combat it, is just to have a mandatory set amount of title defenses before the person can move up. And even if they do enforce this rule, knowing Dana, I think he would break this rule if there is a big pay-per-view fight that he could make in mind that involves 2 champions, or champion moving up, or even a champion moving down in some cases. I think he'd say, man, just fuck it. We're gonna throw the mandatory title defenses out the window, and we're just gonna make this matchup happen. Now, if the UFC does not want to go down that route, or many of y'all disagree with me, or just the MMA fan base just thinks it's a dumb idea, they should definitely do a time frame requirement. So what I mean by this is, Ilya just got the belt. He needs to defend that belt within, let's say, 5 months, 6 months, 4 months even, depending on how injured or how much damage that champion got while getting the belt. There should be a certain time frame where they must defend their belt, or they would get stripped. And what this would do is, it'll give them more of an incentive to defend the belt first, and do it in a dominant fashion where they don't get hurt, and then from there they have more options of moving up. Like, say if the time frame, I'd say a fair one would be 6 months. That way, if say Ilya wants to move up, he fights a Holloway in 3 months, and then say he doesn't take no damage, he still has 6 more months to defend that title. So now he can move up for that title shot, and then at the same time defend his belt within that 6-month time period. Now, I know that's probably one of the hardest things a fighter could do, is what I just mentioned, but we've seen Volkanovski stay active almost to that extent. But what this would also do is eliminate the interim champion bullshit, because I just feel like they just keep throwing this interim champion, because what it really is just a number 1 contender belt. It's just to show you who's next in line. But even that has some blurred lines between it, because look at Aspinall. Aspinall might not even be the one to fight Jones next. Miocic is most likely gonna do it. So if there was no notion with the interim belt, then we wouldn't be having this discussion of well, why is Aspinall getting robbed of his shot. So that's another thing that the time frame does, is get rid of that. But anyways, guys, that'll conclude this video on the UFC having a double champ problem. Like always, let me know what y'all think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And definitely let me know in the comments, what would you guys propose to combat this issue that they have?
Damn, son, where'd you find this?